So out of the Christmas week movies that came out of the 5 that came out to my town, the 4th one I got to see was Fences, and easily the best of the 5. And definitely the best movie I saw that day, because I saw Fences in the morning, and then in the afternoon we saw Assassin's Creed. I don't even know why I gave that comparison, because it's completely obvious which one's better. I don't even know why I brought it up. So you know what? It actually is really hard to explain what Fences is really about. Now when I think of a synopsis for a movie, I look at the trailer of the film, I see what's revealed, I see what most people are going to know about it before they go into the movie. I just usually want to give a brief summary of it without the twists and turns and try not to spoil things. But when so little of the movie is actually shown within the 2 trailers that we have, or at least the 2 different trailers I've seen, it's really hard to explain what this movie's about. Not only that, because there's a lot of different things in this movie. In any other person's hands, if this was a different kind of play turned into a movie, this would probably be quite a mess with all the different subplots, all the different relationships, all the different conversations these family members and friends have. So what can I say about Fences? Well, it is directed by Denzel Washington, also starring him, and it is adapted from a play. It is a period piece, and Denzel Washington is this husband. He has a family. He has quite the complicated past and quite the complicated relationships with his family. The main relationship, the main conflict, because there are several conflicts, several relationships in this movie, but the main one that's advertised in the trailer is that he used to be a ball player, and his hopes and dreams were kind of dashed because it was before the days of Jackie Robinson, so he couldn't really go too far. He couldn't get too far in baseball, despite him being very good. But now times have changed, and his son really wants to be an athlete. He wants to be a football player. And Denzel Washington's character's like, no, can't have that. I don't want my son going off to this dream and failing. And he feels he needs to keep his son off this path, and conflict ensues. To be honest, this really isn't the main conflict of the film. There's other conflicts that grab more attention that I won't give any detail with, because if you've never seen the play and you really want to see this movie and you haven't seen it yet, trust me, you want to be surprised. When I was surprised, I was shocked. Let's just say there is a lot of different family relationships and conflicts that happen, a lot of twists and turns, and it is definitely a drama. Now again, I've never seen the play ever performed before, didn't know what it was about, only saw the trailer, so I didn't quite know what I was getting into. And so when I actually saw the film, I was deeply surprised throughout, and I have to say I had a blast watching this movie. Because holy crap, it is definitely dramatic. Now the things I really loved about it, Denzel Washington did a fine job directing. And honestly, I think this is the only movie that I've seen him direct. I don't know if he's directed other movies. If he has, I haven't seen them, or I don't think I've seen them. But I have to say, he's a really good director. I also really love his character, because he's a character that really starts off as charismatic, really likable. He talks a lot of game, and then you start realizing about his past, about his relationship with his father, and how it parallels with his relationship to his real son right now. And it's just, holy crap. Because you start to delve deeper into his character, and you realize how flawed and how broken of a man he really is. He does some really terrible things in this movie. Things that normally would be completely unforgivable, depending on how you look at it. But I love that Denzel Washington is not only willing to direct a movie like this, but also play as the character like this, that is flawed and is a little, could be, well, unlikable to some. It almost kind of reminds me of what Joel Edgerton did when he wrote The Gift. Did he direct it? I think he directed it. and then he also starred as the creep in The Gift. It almost reminds me of that, just to more of a crazier extent in Fences, because he does some truly terrible things. Viola Davis is also amazing in this film, and not just your typical housewife throughout the film. She's got more to do in this film, especially with the conflict that happens between her and Denzel Washington, and her love for the son, and how she wants him to go for his dream while Denzel Washington's like, no, quit that dream and be realistic. Both of them have their great moments in this film, but everyone, and I mean everyone in this film, was really great. I can't really pinpoint a bad performance in this entire film. Not even a mediocre performance in this entire film. Everyone is downright amazing. But of course the standouts are our leads, and they do have the most dramatic moments. They have the biggest, loudest moments. Sometimes you could say, oh, it's overacting. They're really going for the Oscar. It's really that loud kind of acting and not the subtle kind. But then again, they're in these crazy situations. It's the characters, the times they're in, the situations they're going through, the family drama, the relationships. It makes sense why they're yelling and they're really loud and going for the Oscar. If that's not your cup of tea, then you might not like Fences, because there's a lot less subtlety in this film and a lot more loud and dramatic. But if that's the kind of thing you like, then you're really going to love Fences. Other than the acting and the directing, the story really kept me engaged, and I really loved it. Like the twists and turns it went, the crazy things and the crazy drama and the relationships, the connections between characters, it is really fascinating. Same with the dialogue, and it would have to be, because this is based off of a play. What does a play usually have going for it? Loud, dramatic moments, really good script writing, acting, and story. That's what it usually has going for it, and that's what Fences has going for it for sure. So I was never bored with this film. I was excited throughout, and I just was completely entertained. It might sound like I didn't give a lot of glowing positives for this movie, but it's really hard to talk about positives for drama other than your typical stuff that you would say good about a drama if you like it. But let's get into the negatives, because there are a few things, little nitpicky things that I didn't like, and a few things that kind of come with the territory of adapting a movie from a play. Because a lot of the negatives that you might get from a movie that's adapted from a play are still in Fences. But let's talk about the nitpicky things first, because yeah, there are a few nitpicky things. One of it is, I have to say, I had to get used to the dialect in the film. I think that's how you would say it, because it's the way they say things, the way that the characters talk. I believe that's more of dialect. And I have to say, it's a little hard, and it's really fast at the very beginning of the film, and I really had to get used to it. Not as bad as when you're trying to get used to a Shakespeare film or anything like that. But I have to say, if you're not used to that kind of dialect, it's gonna be really hard to really catch up until it gets to the scenes where we see in the trailers where it is slower and they're not talking as fast, and you can understand everything for sure. Again, I'm not saying that I didn't understand things, it's just it almost felt like how I felt with Tom Hardy in The Revenant, where it's like, okay, I can't understand every single word he's saying, but I can definitely paraphrase what he's saying and get the meaning. So I never felt lost, I just didn't know every single exact word that was said. But again, that's nitpicky, because it's very realistic, and I appreciate that in Fences. But like I said, it does have some of the pitfalls that happen when you adapt a play into a movie. This doesn't feel all that cinematic. It's a movie that feels like a play because it's very staged and there's not that many settings of the film. Mostly you're in the backyard or in one room in the house. And for the most part, that's where you are. And a few times there's different scenes and different places. The opening scene of the movie is them on the back of a garbage truck going down the streets. That's the most cinematic you'll get in the entire film. The rest is just a bunch of people talking in rooms. It's really great talking, at least to really dramatic moments, it's really handled well. But if you're not a fan of, okay, it's just people sitting around, standing around, talking, nothing's happening, then you're not going to like Fences. Again, I was not bored by the film, but there's something very play-like that I didn't quite like as much. It's like I just wish it was a little bit more cinematic and feels a little bit more like a movie, because that's what I came to see, you know? Even though I knew it was based off of a play, and I've seen other movies based off of plays that are very similar to Fences in that way. It also does feel like you miss a few things, because it's more along the lines of talking about what happened in the past, talking about some big event that happened, but not really showing it. But that kind of happens in a play, and it makes sense, and it's handled extremely well in the film. I just wish there was a little bit more to it, and a little here and there where we could actually see what's going on and not being told what's going on. And I know this all sounds very, very negative, but it's very nitpicky for me, because I still highly enjoyed the film. I understand why they went that route, and there is a little bit in the movie where it feels like it makes sense why it takes place in all just the backyard in the house, because that's where Denzel Washington's character feels the safest, feels like he's king, and there's a lot of telling instead of showing, but that makes sense for a play. There are moments in this film I will not forget. There are bits of dialogue and conversations that I will look back on the movies this year and think, holy crap, that's some of the best I've seen all year. But overall, I'm going to give Fences 4.5 stars. So, have you seen Fences? What'd you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if not, what is your favorite film that was adapted from a play? If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015 and 2016. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.